Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Kim McVicker podcast. Today, my guest is.
Esther Steinberg, extraordinaire. I am a stand-up comedian, writer, actress, and all around just funny gal.
I love it. Don't you love self identifying yourself that way? And then the internet is like, I'll tell you if you're funny. I
You
don't
know
know.
what? If you type in your name in ChatGPT and say why is, and then you just like, why is Esther Steinberg funny? ChatGPT like built my confidence the other day, and it was like, it'll tell you why you're funny.
I love that. So robots are nicer than humans online, is what I'm hearing.
Robots are hypey. They're like, "Listen, you're the best. Don't ever like they're really excited. They're on your side. They're never negative. They're always a little too hypey. The emails are like, "Can't wait to hear back from you. Circle back." Like their emails are too much. But yeah, I recommend AI when you're feeling like just but who am I? And then you just type your name. You're like, who is she?
This is
And
going to
like
add to my AI is better than human beings thoughts because I really do think AI is better than people. Sorry, people. Uh,
yeah,
it's so nice. Yeah. Okay.
you try doing math. Like, just try the simplest numbers and try to multiply them.
I did use ChatGPT for my taxes this year, which I didn't
That's
even know
smart.
was a thing. I just was like having a good time and was like, add this up. And I was like, oh, what? ChatGPT does taxes.
Yeah, correctly, we don't know, but there's another robot checking the taxes that your robot did. So it's like maybe
Yeah, they
they
can
like
talk
have
to each
that.
other. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
lie. ChatGPT did. I didn't do anything wrong. So when did you start comedy?
I started when I was 16 in Tampa, Florida. I think it was like 2006.
Wow. Okay, so I lived in Tampa, Florida. Uh,
Nuh-uh.
were you born and raised in Tampa, Florida?
I was, and that's the last place I would have ever expected you to say you lived because it just feels so random. And it
Mhm.
also feels like women in female comedy, like that just doesn't feel like a good thing to do in Tampa.
No, I did not start comedy in Tampa.
Okay.
But I got a lot of, ideas in Tampa for comedy. I've done comedy there now, but yeah, I lived in Tampa for a couple of years, and, what a fun place to live.
I grew up there, so I have this bizarre relationship, and it's like such a love-hate
Mhm.
because I am from Florida, but obviously humiliated by that fact.
I mean, I like Tampa. I mean, everyone does dip, and that's fine, and you'll find cups everywhere. Don't pick them up, it's disgusting. But, there's, like, so many great bars out there, and, like, Ybor, what a hot mess in a beautiful way. Um
Yeah, and then that makes everything in the world more digestible when someone's like, "Oh, this place is seedy." And I'm like, "You don't know what seedy is. I grew up in Tampa." Or they'll be like
What does seedy
everything
mean?
seedy is sketchy,
Oh,
shady. I
okay.
always say like
I love it.
Tampa's sunny but shady.
Okay.
I feel like that was used in like a tagline for a TV show, and I was like, "That's my line.
That is
I'm the
Tampa,
only one
though.
who can." It's sunny and shady, and it's just there's no dress code. Every time I come, I'm always astonished by how many people are like have like they're in crutches, they're in wheelchairs. Everyone's got like a sling. I'm like, this is for whatever reason, Florida just feels like the place to be. A broken, like break your bones, like
Well, it's
go
where
get.
retirees go, so that makes
But
sense.
even that, even the young people are like limping around. I'm like, what is this? It's like the old
Math. It's math.
people's, it's meth.
Mm, maybe.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
it's
I actually don't
the
know
old
anybody who does meth
people.
in Tampa specifically, so
All your meth friends are in like San Francisco.
yeah, or Vancouver. I'm just trying to figure out, yeah, where is meth popular?
But I
Where can I
remember being
score
a
some?
little like pretentious when I was in Tampa, just growing up, even when I was like 15 or 16. I was like, I read books. I like Shakespeare. And I was like, Tampa is just full of a bunch of people who like drinking beer and watching football. And
And
then
that's
if
why
they
I
want
like
art or
Tampa.
culture, you can go to a strip club.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Tampa has, I think, the largest or most popular strip clubs in the world. Like in not maybe not the
Maybe.
world, but in America. Like,
Who's doing the math?
hi,
Who's doing the math on this?
well, they have some
Like,
unusual ones. I haven't been to a strip club in a very long time, but they had. I think it's called something with an O, like, and it's a
uh,
spaceship.
Odyssey. 2001 Odyssey is supposed to be this like
It's called
futuristic.
2001, which was the future, but we're past it now.
I know when you make something in the 80s and you say it's 2001, like maybe your futuristic should just be like 3001. Like just don't they didn't project that this business would be successful into 2025, but
Yeah, now it's a
it's still
throwback.
there.
Yeah.
I know. My husband, like, he does comedy, Noah, and he was performing in Tampa and couldn't get over to the 2001 futuristic comedy place. He's like, no, I think they should have like girls with belly button rings and play Fred Durst and like really lean into the 2001. Like,
Because that's where they capped. So, yeah, that's when the VMA yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm waiting for things to be early aughts themed. Like it is coming back. Some of the
Mhm,
clothing right now is very early aughts. It's very like when Paris Hilton was the most popular celebrity and she'd be like, that's hot. And she'd wear
mhm,
like the certain like glittery, juicy, velour. I think it's coming back and it's just really embarrassing to see that style because I'm like, it was never a good style. It
mm-mm.
was never good, and now it's just young people in ugly clothes again.
Well, we need to keep them ugly. Keep kids ugly. That's what
I
I always say.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree, it's population control.
They were too sexy, so now we have to take it back. That's so gross.
Yeah, but
Okay, so you married
I
a
escaped
comedian.
Tampa. Yes, I married a comedian, but I was like my MO was like, I need to get out of Tampa, Florida. Like I escaped. I applied to like 20 different colleges all in New York City. And I was
What
like,
would
"And
you
I will
say
move."
for
And I
people
did.
who are like female comedians? A lot of them stay away from male comedians because it's like male comedians can be a different world. But
Uh-huh.
you found
I
someone
got
who
the
is okay, it sounds like.
advice. I got advice from every like big name comedian, and she was like, don't fuck comics. Don't fuck comics. So I tried to fuck civilians. And I remember going on a date with guy who was like a computer guy, and he asked me about comedy to a point where I was like, I was getting 105 questions, and I was like, "Do you want to try comedy? Is that something you're
Mm,
interested in?" And he's like, "I mean, yeah, sure. Like, I feel like I have a good." Okay. Now it's come out of the closet after I was like interrogated for an hour over coffee. You want to be a comedian and you just don't have the balls to do it. So now you're on a date with me.
mhm.
Or I can date a comic. I feel like I only have 2 options, like, you wish you did comedy, you just do comedy, and it's, like, neither here nor there. I like being with a comic because that's how important it is in my life. Like, my
Mhm.
comedy keeps me up at night where I'm like, "Oh, that's a tag." Like, if you are not on board I mean, I also have kids, like, can you imagine if I was married to a dentist and I was like, bye, dentist husband. I'm going to go to a disgusting, seedy, ugly strip club hole in the wall bar because I'm working out this new bit about you. I'll be back. And he'd be like, I married a woman and she's just out on the town. I'm assuming a dentist would be like appalled by that behavior. And my husband's just like, go. Hope you do well on that bit you're working out. Like, I really need an investment. So I was like, the only option, I personally felt like the only option I had for happiness and success is to be with a male comic
But
because
he has
that's
to be
how,
funny because you can't be with someone who's
oh,
not good either, because that would be traumatic,
I
I
think
think.
friendships and husbands and boyfriends,
Mhm.
not fuck buddies. Fuck buddies can be bad. But anyone who's you're committed to, you have to have respect for them and they need to have respect for you. You have to think they're funny and you have to just like fully respect them. If you don't have respect for them, it's not going to work.
For sure, for sure. So you started at 16 in
Yeah.
Tampa,
Yeah.
and what like, mics were there, or how did you get started? Because you're usually have to be 21 to get into a club. Were you like the
Ta-
kinda comics that they, like,
Tampa,
let
you
you
just
in?
yeah, you flash your nipple and they're like, "Right this way." As long as you're
"Underage, let's go."
under 18, you're welcome here. No, it was, so my dad had done comedy in the '80s, which is embarrassing because he, like, completely failed at it, and then when I was 16, he, like, kind of was like, "Are you" he let me in on stand-up comedy. We watched it together and we liked it, and that's something we had in common. And I really was like ready to go, and I was gonna go up, and I took like a little class at the Performing Arts Center in Tampa. That was a
Mhm.
comedy class. It was 2 other people, and they were both in their 60s, and we would
Nice.
just like kind of open mic, and the graduation was a black box theater, and I invited everyone from my high school, and I like destroyed and was like, "That's it, I'm hilarious." But I feel like your first time when you invite every single one of your friends, that's the last time everyone's coming out to see you.
Mhm.
One and done.
'Cause you're showing
And
them the
then
worst you'll ever be.
yeah, and then also you're not gonna like you're gonna eat shit for a really long time. So like have fun with that first. I destroyed at this black box theater I invited all my friends to. So I had that experience and I was like, I guess I'm the greatest comic ever. And I soon like the confidence left, but there was a moment where I was like the most confident 16-year-old. And if I saw myself now, I'd like punch myself in the face and be like,
Were kids
humble
in the school
yourself.
nice to you for it, or were they
It was
was
specifically
anybody
my
like, "Oh, you
friends.
wanna be a but did you have that? Because I feel like
Yeah, a little
comedy's more
bit.
popular now, right? So, like, when you were doing it, it wasn't as popular as it is now. I can imagine 16-year-olds now going to do it, and then their friends being like, "Oh, you're jumping on the bandwagon," or whatever.
It wasn't pop I feel like the popular kids weren't showing up to that black box show, but I was in the theater program.
Okay.
And so my
They're
me and my
supportive. Those people are real supportive.
too supportive, right? They're just like, "Yay, you're so great. That was so amazing." So I had that like the theater kids and a couple of my girlfriends, but it wasn't like the quarterback of the high school wasn't showing up. Um, so, it was just my pals that I like love that artsy, the 5 artsy gay people in Tampa that I could muster and gather.
Love it.
And then I got a job at Side Splitters Comedy Club, which
Okay.
is in Tampa, and I was the door girl. I sold tickets, and then I would like do a couple of mics. It was all misogynistic, creepy
Mhm.
guys, like the worst of the worst. So maybe it was kind of good to start there so that when I
Yeah.
go anywhere else, they're like, oh yeah, these guys. I'm like, oh my God, these are angels.
Mhm.
That guy's Gloria Steinman compared to the things I started with. So like everything, my bar was so low for self-respect, for women respect, like all of it was like, I'm from Florida. Like it's a miracle that she's on stage, not naked. This is just amazing. My bar was low, but I worked at Side Splitters as a door girl and I would like beg for guest spots. But I think the best part was that I saw 7 shows a weekend, every
Mhm.
weekend for like 2 years, and I'd watch people do their act, and sometimes it was verbatim. Every show was verbatim, and I was like, "What?" And then they'd
Mhm.
come back the next year, and it was verbatim, the same thing, and I was like it kind of blew me away how not off the cuff people were, but they were
Mhm.
pretending to be off the cuff. Like, it was a magic trick. They'd be like, "What's your name?" Then he would like launch into a joke and it felt like crowd work, but I'm like, "I saw him do that last night."
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just
That's a trick for people. That's definitely yeah.
Oh, Tampa will eat it up. If you have a bit, but somehow you pretend to pull it out of the audience, oh, Tampa
Most
loves it.
places will eat that up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's part of stand-up. That's part of the gig is to make everything feel like you're thinking of it right now.
Yeah. "Oh, the other day," and I'm like, "That joke's 10 years old."
Mhm.
But yeah, I watched and learned and then was like, "I'm going to New York." So I got to
What
go
made you
to New
pick New
York.
York out of all the comedy places?
I didn't think it was even picking. I was just like, "If you wanna be funny, go to New York." It's like, if you wanna be good at basketball, play with black people, okay? You think you're good at basketball because 'cause you're good with your white friends, but, like, what about real comics? So New York kind of felt like those are legit, real deal, the best of the best comedy.
And
I
then
don't know.
'cause in New York, there's like a street where there's like I mean, there's other clubs as well, but there's
Yeah,
like a street
McDougal.
where a majority of the comedy clubs are, and now there's definitely more and that are popular as well. Um, but
It
that's
just
like the
also
street.
feels like people come in, people are tourists, and they're like, "Oh, I wanna go see a comedy show." There's so many clubs, there's bad clubs, there's good clubs, there's, alt shows, there's endless opportunity that you can have comedy in New York City. It's the opportunity is endless, but being funny and getting in was challenging. And I was just an open micer, just
Yeah,
open
how do you do
mics.
that jump in New York? Because there's a lot of New York comics that ask me that, and, I live in LA, but, like, because I've done both. I've done shows in New York, which are awesome, and then I have checked out the open mics, and it feels like the open mics in New York are not like the open mics in LA at all, whereas, like, in Los Angeles, the good open mics, like, there's always bad whatever, but the good open mics, the bookers of the clubs are in the back. So it actually is, like, do your best so you can get a spot, right? So it makes sense. But in New York, the open mics are, like, pay $5 to get up, and it's just 4 other dudes who are not listening because 'cause they're memorizing their stuff to get up. And I could be wrong, right? That could just be the one that I experienced.
And
Like, what is, like, the
this was
bridge to
also
getting, like, if you're
2008,
okay.
2009, 10, 11. That was like my sweet spot. And it was there was a couple of places that had, oh, 4 people. But what I found mostly in that time frame was
Mhm,
that there was a bunch of people just like me that took comedy very seriously. They were not there just to sexually harass people. They weren't there just to like get really drunk and be disgusting. They were writers. They were writers writing jokes like me and you, trying to work out their bits, and I had a lot of respect for a couple of them. I was, like, avoided a couple of them. You have some female comics, "What? That wasn't in Tampa." And, a lot of the people that I was open micing with are giant writers now, like, I remember Mike Lawrence was always at the mics, and now he's this, acclaimed writer, and he was a great writer back then and a great writer now, but you wanted that new joke. You're always writing the new jokes, and the person next to you is always writing the new jokes. I don't know that I was getting like the biggest laughs because it was this amazing audience, but I did felt a camaraderie of there was all kinds of wackos and weirdos. There was
mhm,
also a group, almost like a graduating class
mhm,
of these individuals, and we were all working it out every day. And it was like, you sign up here, you sign up there. This one's a lottery. You just, like, make a map of how to get to as many as possible. If you got, like, 4 mics in one show, that was, like, record breaking,
mhm.
and that would sometimes happen for people, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, you're going to another mic?" It was it was fun. It felt like a little bit of a moment in time where everyone from this mic was about to go to the other mic, and then the other mic, and we were all working out jokes. There was one place, the pit gave you 3 minutes, and there was like 50 of us, and we all got 3 minutes, and it was amazing when people could destroy in 3 minutes. Most people
Mhm.
didn't, but the best was that they cut you off at
Right.
3 minutes, so
Yeah.
you don't
So
have
if there's,
to.
like, new comics moving to New York, what would you recommend? Like, obviously, let's say they've gotten good in their scene. They're not coming to New York to try stand up for the first time, but they're coming to New York because they wanna make a career in stand up. What would your recommendations be?
I mean, show up to any open mic,
Okay.
then, like, let's say it's a disaster, but there's one guy or girl, one person you find to be just slightly funnier than everyone else, go up to them, tell them that you thought they were good. Ask them what other mics are going on. They'll tell you, show up to those mics. You'll see 2 or 3 people you respect. Ask them what mics they're going to. Start to collect and start to make like a chart on your computer. This was a good mic. That's a terrible mic. Avoid places that you find to be, yucky and icky and soul crushing, and repeat the ones that you felt were productive. And I know there's some in Brooklyn, or there's some clubs, or whatever it is. Just make it your outing. If that Wednesday mic was a good time, keep going. And every time you go, brand new jokes. And then one day you're going to kill. Someone's going to be in the back of the room and say, "Hey, I produced this show at a bar. Do you want to do a spot?" From there, that
And
happens
this
over
takes
and
years
over.
just for those who think that they're gonna jump in and have, but then there's
Yeah,
the social
unless
media
you
aspect.
come if you come ready to go with jokes that are destroying,
Yeah.
it's, like, so silly, but, like, people will pay attention if you're destroying. Because I also believe in producing shows, and if you're gonna make a
Do you
show.
produce a show in New York?
I did
Okay.
a little later when I came back to New York. I produced show
But right
in
now, do you? Like,
LA, and I
okay.
do I'm not I'm so I've always felt like producing a show is part of the game. Like, if you want spots, why don't you give spots
Yeah.
and you get spots? But I also don't believe in like just putting someone up because they run a show, because they really stink up the stage sometimes, occasionally.
Mhm.
But I'm like all about you're part of a community, you're a little cog in a machine, especially when you're coming up, and that needs to you need to run a show. Just attempt
Just to
and
understand the
fail.
logic of it all, yeah.
And then you start to root for everyone. Because when I'm on a show, I'm like, oh, he bombed, I'm gonna kill. Or I bombed, I hope he doesn't kill, whatever. When you're producing a show, I'm just like, please do well. I invited my neighbor. I invited my sister. Like, please be funny. And you're rooting for every single person on the show. And you start to realize you want everyone to be funny. You want everyone to win. And I think it's a good attitude to be like, I'm producing a show and I want every single person to do well. And I'm actively looking for funny people to do my show. And I'm going to be funny because the guy next to me, he might be running a show and I want to do his show. So I think just the attitude of like, work on your jokes, be funny, and like let people approach you
Mhm,
about shows, but don't stop grinding it on the mics. If you're first getting to New York and you don't know anyone, you have a gift, which is, there's websites and there's resources, and you can literally fill your entire schedule. And yeah, if they charge you a drink, the doors are open, you're using the restroom, you're on a microphone, buy a drink. If
mhm.
you can't afford a drink, that's very sad. Get a job. Get a job.
I
Your
agree.
job cannot be open mic. There's 2 jobs. One is money and one is art. Go wait tables, make money. Now this is your art. I'm sorry if you can't afford a drink, like figure that out. But
You know, since you
$5 is I think an okay place to charge me $5 to go on stage to use your bathroom and keep the lights on in frickin' New York City. It's
right.
not cheap. The attitude of like pay to perform. I'm like $5 is
It's not
okay.
pay to perform, it's pay to work out. Those are 2 different things, right? It isn't performing.
Yes.
You're paying to see if a new bit works. Now you
Yeah.
have kids, so you did stand up before you had kids, right?
Yeah, well, that'd be so funny if I was like, "No, I had kids when I was
Well,
16 and I
I'm sure there's
started."
some mom out there who, like,
Miss
decides
Pat.
afterwards that's just like,
Well,
"Ooh,
actually,
that's a
yeah.
lot."
I had kids when I was 30, I had my kid. I'm about to turn 35. I'm very excited about being on the other side of, comedy. Like, when I was 16, I was like, "I don't like being the youngest. I wanna be the same age as everyone."
Fair. Yeah.
35, I feel like I'm, like, right there. Like, we're all
Yeah,
the
that's
same
the
age.
average. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it always depends on where you are. But do you find
Yeah.
that comedy's like do you feel like it was easier because you had kids because it motivated you to organize better, or it was harder? Like, what was your feelings with that? Like, because 'cause I'm sure there's women who are on the fence of having kids. I don't want any, so it's not me. But and
I
I
wanted a
like kids, I just don't
career.
want my own, and that's okay. But,
I
like, I'm
almost
sure
feel
there's a
like the
mom out there.
kids help me like want things less because like when the only thing I have is my career, if
Mm,
something goes wrong, I'm fucking shattered. If
mhm,
something goes right, I'm on top of the world. Now it's like no matter what happens, I'm wiping a butt full of poop in a couple minutes.
mhm,
No matter what happens, my son is throwing a block at my face in a couple hours. Like the highs and lows are like I get checked by my reality, which is I'm a mom. But sometimes if I had something going on with my career that was like, I'm so sad, it's like, yeah, well, my kids don't give a F.
no, they
If
still
I
want a
did,
sandwich, cut the crust or whatever it
they're
is.
still either the sweetest kids or annoying. They're still, I'm just mom. That's kind of humbling and great, but I think in ways it helps in ways it makes it harder. You could get me out to any show at any time when I didn't have kids. Now, I don't know, I have some self-respect now. I'm like, "Oh, you want me to leave my house? You're gonna have to cough up some money," unless it's like, "Oh, I really am trying to work this out." But, like, I absolutely demand more respect, more money, my time is insanely precious. If I leave the house, the babysitter is about to get 100 and
Right.
something dollars. Don't don't you try to if I have a bunch of paying customers in front of me, like you're gonna have to pay me to perform. And I am happy to stay home, by the way. I've really been an amazing I have walkaway power. I
That's
don't
fun.
know. Being a mom, I'm just like, I don't need this at all. I am I'm not leaving my house. I people will be like, "Oh, do you wanna do this show?" And I was like, "You can't get me to leave for less than $1,000. I'm not gonna be out of my own city for
Right.
less than a grand. If I'm driving for more than 2 hours, like, really, you do need a budget, and if not, there's plenty of comedians that will work for much cheaper than me, and I'll give you their numbers. But this is
Right.
my fee, and that didn't happen before kids. I don't think I was as like, "This is my fee, take it or leave it." Um, but in terms of the act, in ways I think talking about your kids is really good. And sometimes I'm like, everyone's been talking about their kids a lot. I don't wanna be just a person who talks about their kids, especially when it kind of feels like everyone's starting to talk about their kids.
Do you feel like, everybody well, in life, once they have kids, that's all they talk about, right? Because that's their main thing that they're dealing with.
It's funny,
But
I did my first special was like kids, 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 pregnancy, whatever, and then I got it out of my system, and then this one, I'm roasting my dad, I'm picking on my husband a little bit, and then I'm talking about like a mommy makeover. So it's like it is motherhood, but it's more like me than it is
Mhm.
the kids. I'm not my kids said the dumbest shit. It's like my boobs are not what they used to be.
Well, and also if you're
And
making fun of your kids, eventually they'll see it, and that's a you okay, I don't know,
well,
just like
a part of me is like, "Oh, did you have it really hard? Because your mom was funny. You poor
mhm.
thing." And then I can, like, point to kids in Africa, and I'm like, "They're starving." You can always yell at your kids later on in life and
You
tell them
can
they had it
always yell
good.
at your kids. Moms, if there's nothing that you take away from this,
And
you
if
can
I don't give
always
them
yell at your
any
kid.
trauma, will they even be interesting?
That's true because they have a weird future to get to.
Yeah.
They're the robot future, so they're
People
gonna
are
have all that
too
ego.
nice to their kids. Kids these days, they're just like, "I want my iPad. Here you go. I want this. Here you go." Too much here you go. We need to give them challenges so that they can have character and personalities, especially my boys. I'm just like, "You guys
How
are
old are they now?
gorgeous." I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they're gorgeous. They're funny. They're smart. They have the best mom. They have a present
I love it.
father. I'm like, we need to damage them psychologically for them to have a chance in this world.
Once they get to school, they'll get that.
I hope so. I really hope so.
They will. It'll happen. Wait, no one leaves school at any point. Like, did you get out of school without feeling any sort of way at any point in time?
Uh, I feel
Somebody
horrible.
has to be mean to somebody at some point, or you were the bully, which is also a possibility because I feel like sometimes I probably was.
I was not the bully. I had a sister with some mental illness, and she just did a real number on me psychologically. She still to this day, we haven't like quite diagnosed her perfectly, and I'm kind of at no contact right now, but I do think I'd be a different person if it wasn't for having a sister who's questionably bipolar, questionably borderline personality, who, really only 15 months older, so we're like Irish twins.
Mhm.
And she made sure that I was fucked up.
That's great.
Yeah,
Congratulations. You
thank
did
you.
it. That's awesome. Your parents figured it out for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's, like, the weirdest, or, like, worst experience you've ever had at a mic? Like, I feel like,
Oh, at a
sometimes
mic.
people have or like a show where people, like, throw bottles at you or, like, I mean, everyone's at everything. I just always
Uh,
feel like comics think it's gonna be easy, and it's like, "Oh, well, sometimes it's not safe."
well, the worst I find, not I'm like so excited to not speak about Tampa because it's this um, because it feels yucky. I was always coming from the point of view of like, I'm a woman. I have perspective that these guys don't because they don't even think about the fact that things are a little different for me. And the list goes on and on and on. So when I'm on stage, I have this angle and I'm not self-deprecating. I self-deprecate, but I'm not like the whole theme of my act isn't I hate myself.
Mhm.
Men are okay with that. But there's certain things they're not okay with, and I feel like Tampa, Florida wants either you better destroy yourself, tell me you're a horrible person and everything bad, self-deprecate, or from a woman, or we want to hear you talking about sucking dick. But then
Okay.
I come on stage and I am talking about the possibility of having a female president, how this label, the marketing on deodorant is different for men and women. And
What is the
Tampa
marketing
does it.
difference on deodorant?
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
My husband's deodorant is or it was a boyfriend at the time, it said swagger as a scent, and it said the
Mhm.
definition of confidence. That was the Old Spice swagger definition of confidence, and that was the market. That's how we market to men, and then I looked at mine, it said secret, 24 hours of protection. And I'm like, "Women,
So
you wanna
safety for
scare them.
women. Yeah.
Scare them. Make them feel like they need protection, they need 24 hours, they need to balance their pH, everything's wrong with them, and they are scared. They need this product. For men, it's like, "You're the shit, bro. Like, make money, fuck bitches, high five." Like, their whole, like, "You're swagger,
Mhm. What do you feel about
confidence."
this deodorant all over deodorant now that they've got where they're like spray your genitals with it? Have you seen those? I haven't
Well,
used
if
it. I'm
your
afraid of it.
pussy
I don't wanna spray
reeks,
that, area.
I
I feel
feel
like that's
like
a bad thing.
they have, like, studies about how we're like it's a hormonal imbalance when we even spray even perfumes are increasing our chances of cancer, hormone imbalance, like, I still like scented candles, apparently that's, like, just horrible, toxic, we should not be breathing it, so the idea of taking, like, scented anything, scented tampons, like, you're begging for diseases in this toxic world we live in, so stink up the room, let air out that puss, wear cotton underwear. I'm like, I will go on a rant about like try to keep your puss as organic as possible.
Mm.
I don't know, maybe shower.
Yeah. You can always do that. That's
Who's
an option.
I don't know. I'd say if your body reeks, do some investigating before you're like just
Spraying something down there.
spraying sprays.
I
But
don't
yeah,
get it.
the whole thing is that we're having these conversations. I was like, women are getting their vaginas reconstructed now. That's like do you know that's popular? It's in pop culture.
I
Is
don't know
like
what I
the
would do to it though. If I did it, I would do something
That's such a
fun.
brag.
Like,
That's
I
such a
wouldn't
brag.
no, no,
There's
no, no, I just
nothing.
well, I don't use it. I've been married forever, so it's back to its freshness. But, like, I don't know what I
So
wouldn't
the
just make
women
it
are like
I would make it a
vaginal
new shape. Like, I would
reconstruction.
make it more it's like women who get their have you seen the women who get their breasts done and then they get their areolas in, like, a star shape? Like, that's something I would do. I would if I was gonna do something, like, if I needed to do something, I would
A
also
little
add on
crescent
something fun.
moon. I
Yeah,
want
just
my
something
butthole
fun.
to be a crescent moon.
Yeah, just something fun. If you're gonna
That's
look at it, I might as well make it, weird.
But I was like, women are talking about getting vaginal reconstruction, like Real Housewives and stuff. And then men don't even shave their pubes. Like they don't think about it they don't care or think about it. So why are we like
That might be a New York thing. I feel like people in LA do.
they shave their pubes?
Well, I know guys who, like, go to, like, Ulta or, like, a beauty place that are straight, that are just, like, paying attention to their skincare routine. So I feel like if they're paying attention to their face, they're probably paying
That's
attention to down there, but
you'd
maybe they're
think.
not. Maybe they're not.
You'd
I don't
think.
know. Yeah.
You'd
Again, married
think.
forever, I have no idea.
All you have to do is ask them for a picture. They will WhatsApp it to you
Gladly send it.
immediately. They don't have
And
any
even
shame.
if you ever get a dick pic, my recommendation is always send back another one with a bigger dick. That's usually my go-to. I think that's the easiest way to reply.
But like, oh yeah, so I'm with the bad show. I was like, I'm in Tampa telling jokes that
Mm.
feel like a feminist slant or a female perspective, right? I'm trying to like be at the height of my intelligence.
But
These
also
are drunk. They hate
sh
it. They hate
they
the
do? Okay,
opinions.
because shows are, like, half female, half male typically. It's a date night usually.
Yeah, but then Tampa's just like I shouldn't say all of Tampa, but this one night, my
Mhm.
experience was if I wasn't getting them on board with anything remotely intelligent, so I kinda dipped into sex jokes, which I have plenty of and love to
Right.
talk about sex. Sex jokes were getting me, like, a couple chuckles. I never drink, but I was like, "I need a shot." Things weren't going my way, and I had invited all of my family and lots of friends, and
Well, yeah, because 'cause you're from there. Yeah, so you're like, "Hey, I'm back in
this was
town."
supposed to be a, like, coming home triumph because
Mhm.
I was in New York for a couple years and was, like, building the act, building the act. Then I come to Tampa, and the jokes that I told in New York that were killing were tanking
Which
in
is a good thing
Tampa.
for comics to hear because different markets like different things, and then
Yes.
that's why you tour. before you shoot your hour, because then you can see like, okay, this market likes this if it works across the board, then that's a good fucking joke. Like, that's a great joke. If
Yes,
and
and
sometimes it's not.
also people can get very niche and opinions are different here and there.
Mhm.
So, I always say it's like tuning your I play guitar,
That's
you
cool.
know, I know. You're like, "And you eat pussy?" No, I just play guitar a little
Congrats.
bit, but you tune your guitar so that it's tuned to a certain thing. We comedians, whether we really acknowledge it or not, are tuning our jokes. So if you're in Seattle and you write this joke about the Pacific Ocean, they laugh. "Oh, I'm gonna keep that joke," or whatever. You tell it in Tampa and it doesn't go well, you're like, "That joke tanked. I'm deleting it." So
Change
now
it to
your act is
Gasparilla.
right, exactly. You're tuning your act because they're laughing, and you're either keeping the joke, throwing it away, or changing it based on what you're getting. So if I'm like, feminist joke, I'm destroying in San Francisco. This is my closer. Feminist joke, Tampa, I am eating shit. I have to abort mission, um, which they don't even support that. And then I
You're not allowed there, right? You have to keep you're not allowed to abort anything
and
there.
let me talk about
Is
how
that
I
true? Is
hate
that Florida?
myself.
I don't know where it is. I know there's a lot of places. I'm at the age where I'm like, I'm
I'm waiting to
not
get
worried about it.
right? Aren't you excited about being aged out? Being like, "Mm, if it
Yeah.
happens to me,
No one's coming after me. I'm in the
my
20.
body's gonna take care of this before I need
Yeah.
to pay
I feel like
someone."
I'm in a 20-year window where no one and I'm excited for it. I'm not gonna lie, I like it. But like that, where you have to get a I told my husband I have to get a personality now, like, because it's
Yeah.
like no one's getting anything off a shelf for me anymore. I'm not cute. Like that's for a 20-year-old. And then it'll happen again when I'm like 60. Like I'm aware that
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get it back. But I'm gonna be in this little lull of like you have to be independent and do all the things because no one's helping you because they can't see you right
It's
now.
good. It's good.
You're both.
It's like a
Yeah.
very, very famous comic gets like a standing ovation for saying nothing funny, and then they think they're doing a good job, and I'm like, "Oh no, they're just famous." But then like if you're actually just like under the radar comic and you say something and gets a big laugh, that's actually that's a good indicator that you're funny because the famous person can say anything and whether it's funny or not, they're getting a laugh. So like you're hot, you're sexy, you're young, everyone's like, "We love you." But, like, when you're, you get a little far away, it's like you really have to earn that love. You need to earn it now. You
Mhm. What
gotta
are your favorite kind of shows to like, so for me, I like a good bar like, I love, obviously, any show that'll have me, and I like headlining, and I like featuring, and I like all the things, but my favorite thing to do is, like, a really difficult bar mic, because I
ooh,
like how hard it is to get people to, like, pay attention/ slash get into it because there's so much going on. I do not like a wine place, I'll be real like, I'm very clear
ooh.
on what I like, and I'll still do all of the things, but, like, I love
I'm
a
with
good
you
bar
that
mic.
I like a bar mic. I ran a show at like a dive bar. Canner's Deli has a kibitz room next to it, and they used to have like Guns N' Roses, and now it's just skater punks and crusty men. But I ran a show there, and I felt like there was a handful of people watching the show, and then a handful of people in the back angry that there was a show because they wanted to
Mhm,
shit talk and be loud. So then I had to be funny enough to get those people who were shit talking, who hated me, to laugh or even just stop talking
mhm.
just to get them to listen. And I would say, if this joke makes them laugh, makes them go, huh? And
You're good.
listen, I'm like, oh, it's a killer. Or like I say, it's like doing comedy with weights. So go on a hike. It's kind of hard. Now put ankle weights on your ankles and you're building more muscle going on that same hike. And so it's like I'm doing the same bit, but I'm doing it with weights. That's what a
Right.
shitty bar show is doing comedy with weights, and that's the only way you're gonna be jacked.
Yeah, I guess I just like difficult situations. That's good to know.
Do you yeah, you like doing comedy with weights on?
I
I
think
like
so.
doing a show that they're, um, comedy fans, because
Mm,
sometimes people come and see comedy and they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna be offended, and I'm gonna watch comedy and see if it's good." So people are like, "I'm a nerd. I love comedy. I love setup and punchlines. I like I like people who are just nerdy and they're just like, "I'm here to enjoy my favorite art form," and you feel that when you have a good joke, and comedy nerds Comedy nerds, I just like I could write love letters to them all day when you're a true fan. And I think it's like
Yeah.
music too. Like s- comedy feels more than ever like there's genres. So if you
Mhm.
love rap music, I don't want you to go to the country show. You're not going to like
Right.
that music. I feel like comedy is more like that than ever. And so I'm kind of like, who do I like performing for? People who fuck with Esther Steinberg. That
Right.
would be a dream to have people in the crowd that, like,
Okay.
subscribe to my genre, because right now I actually live in Vegas, and everything feels like a cruise ship.
How would you describe your
Uh,
genre?
my
Let's get you
genre
people.
would
Let's
be
get you your crowd.
well, for sure, anyone with kids, because I do work on that kid stuff, but they don't like to come out to comedy.
No, because they
My
have to spend
genres
$100 on the babysitter, so
which is
they need to
precisely
know it's a
why
guarantee. Yeah.
Precisely why I put out a special. I'm like, all the women and men I'm trying to reach are incredibly busy. And by 8 p.m., they're in pajama pants, spent from the very challenging day of trying to make ends meet, being like in your 30s and 40s and grinding at whatever your career is or family or whatever. But like, there's definitely an
And
age
your
range, like
current special is called Smear Campaign, right? If anybody
Schmear
wants to
campaign,
Schmear
schmear.
Campaign.
Yes, so
Schmear.
I like the Jews I can speak to because I've got my Jewish humor, but then it's like I'm writing a love note to moms and I like do a little millennial love. And then I kind of bash boomers a little bit, although they're the ones right now with the cash to come see comedy shows, at least in Vegas. So many boomers because they don't have responsibilities and they've got money and they're going out and they want entertainment.
I do
So
love older people in the like, I think my market is over 65, not gonna lie,
come
I love them
to
so
Vegas.
much because when people are I say a lot of bad words, like, I try not to, but I'm gonna say it. In the first 5 seconds, I'm gonna say pussy, it's just gonna happen. It's not
I like
intentional,
it.
it's just who I am. And everyone with older people are always like, "Oh, don't, they're old," and I'm like, "You don't think that they've heard everything?" Like, I feel like people baby 20 like 65 and over too much sometimes as a comic where it's like, "No, no, no, these people can handle it more than anybody. They've lived through
Yeah.
everything."
Yeah, and they're not like 65-year-olds, they're
They're cool now.
that's not 65, there's the silent generation, the boomers, the whatever. 65-year-olds weren't like jolly 1950s, they were 70s, and this is kind of dipping into the 80s. Like the my mom is going to be like 64 and she smoked weed, like she
Yeah.
still does and it gets on my nerves. She's a horrible high. But I love weed smokers. I think my comedy is for like comedy lovers, people who want to hear a woman be funny. And I try to be, I try to do the performance at the height of my intellect. And I'm big and crass and tell I have a little feminist slant, but I don't know who that is. It's like who's going to be obsessed with Adele? I didn't know it was going to be gay men. I thought it was heartbroken women. Then I
No,
go
it's
to an
both.
Adele show and it's heartbroken women and gay men. And I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
who knew?" So I think it's like I'm going to do me and see who shows up, but definitely the moms, the millennials, the hardworking. I find millennials to be the hardworking people right now who are like more grounded than any other generation currently. Gen
Mhm.
X is like, we're done. We're over it. We're over all of it. And I still think I'm like, come on, millennials, we've been through a lot and we need a laugh. And like, I'm sick of like the older comics, like, oh, the young people. And like young comics are a little too woke. We need the grounded.
There you go. There you go. Where so you're in Vegas currently?
Yes, I live here and I run a show here, and you should come do my show.
What
It's at a
oh,
Jewish
thanks.
deli,
I'm
Bagel
in.
Mania.
I'm in. But where could people see you if they go to Vegas? Because I people go to Vegas all the time.
Yes, so I've got this residency at a bagel place I've created a venue out of,
I love
and
the idea of a residency at a bagel place because bagels I love the bagels so much.
they have bagels, they have pastrami sandwiches, they have matzo ball soup. In
I'm having bagels,
July,
but
it's
that's great.
120 degrees in Vegas. We did a show and it was like matzo ball soup after matzo ball soup. I was like, who knew soup in July? These Jews will order soup in July, but like my crowd is like kind of older, which they would love you,
Love them.
classy, and they're starving. And they get there at 6:30 even though the doors open at 7. They order food because we have I'm like, "Why does comedy have to be shitty nachos?
It
Why
doesn't.
can't"
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I want people, like, shoveling food while I'm performing. I say get there at 7, eat, and then their bellies are full, they had a drink, and they're ready for comedy. And also, why should anyone like, if I have a babysitter, I'm not sure I have the time to go to dinner and then go to a comedy show. So I
Right.
created it for myself and for my friends and for people I think are hilarious to come and do this show at Bagel Mania. It's monthly, and then aside from that, I'm all over the map with like there's a bunch of comedy clubs. There's Wise Guys, which I'm at all the time. I just did a weekend there, and then I'm doing a weekend at what is it? Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club, and like I bounce around because there's a lot of clubs
There is a
here.
lot of great clubs that are attached to casinos. Yeah, that's
Brad Garrett's is in a casino, and they have
right.
rules like you cannot run the light because every millisecond you're running the light, someone could be playing craps outside, losing their, you know,
That's good intel. Okay, so what's the biggest difference between, like, Vegas and New York then, you find?
New
The eye
Yorkers
roll.
are smart liberals who are or tourists who are there to see comedy or smart liberal people who love comedy.
Mhm.
It's an echo chamber. In Las Vegas, if you talk about Trump, if you say the word Trump and then say something negative, you'll get like an applause break in New York. If you say something about Trump and then say something negative, you have absolutely no idea if that crowd is about to cheer you on or boo you because people are so divided right now. They're
Mhm.
either in love with this man with orange hair or they despise this criminal and he makes you sick.
He's a hot button in
Therefore,
general, yeah, your joke has to play both sides if
but
you have one.
not if you're in LA or New York.
No,
We
yeah,
know
you
where you
can
stand.
yeah,
LA and New York, we are clear. We don't like him. And in Vegas, I have to pretend I like him. No, I'm just joking. In Vegas, it's like you can make a Trump joke, but like if you're just here to bash him and criticize him, you might lose half the audience immediately
right.
because it's a cruise ship.
Well, I
So,
did Pahrump,
oh no, you
Vegas, which
did.
is
You
a whole
did.
'nother
I've
kind of
been to
it. It's
Brum.
not yeah, it's a different it's not
That's like a
Vegas, it's Nevada,
dusty,
but everyone had a
dusty
gun on
town.
them in the bar, like, it was a stage, there was, like, a full theater, but it was also
Was
a bar
this
in the back.
This is
I don't know what it was
amazing.
called, I don't remember, but everyone had guns on the table, and I'm Canadian, and so I was like, "Oh, okay," and then they wanted me to do crowd work, and I was like, "Okay, cool, what do you do, sir?" And he was like, "I'm a whatever," and I'm like, "Oh, that's great. I'm not gonna make fun of you,
I
I just
love
want
you,
your
and you're
gun."
so
Yeah, and
handsome.
everything, I was just like, "That's awesome," and they were like, "What kinda heckling is this?" I'm like, I'm not gonna be rude to you because you can shoot me." Like, it's
Honestly,
such a
I
different
have
world.
jokes about guns lately because I'm
Mhm.
in Nevada. So you're like, "Yeah, they had guns on the tables, I have to be nice to them," and I'm like, "Probably shouldn't
No, 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 do
directly
you,
make
and then
fun of gu" No,
obviously
you cannot let me just bash gun owners. This is not a good look. Like, don't go on stage. Like, you're literally your life is in danger if you get on stage and you're like, "I hate guns." Someone's like, "Shut the fuck up." But, like, I do talk about guns in a interesting, funny way that I'm
Mhm.
having a blast, but I did it in Nevada. They're purple, and so I'm talking about them being purple. I'm speaking about how half the crowd is pro guns and half the crowd doesn't like guns. So, yeah, and in LA, I'm so interested in New York and LA how that would even play because if I
But those
say
are the
clap
best
it up,
jokes.
I go
That those are
clap
the
it up
best
for your
jokes.
guns, and they cheer. But if I
I
was in
bet
New York and
you'd
I go
get that.
clap it
You'd
up for
still
your
get that.
guns, you get like two people from Staten Island. They're like,
Yeah, I think it just depends. It'll work. It'll work anywhere.
but there's a difference between America and coastal elites. And I am in love with coastal elites. I would love to like just do that all day, but I can't afford to live there. So I live in Nevada and I've opened my heart and soul and I've opened my comedy up to new land called I am not in an echo chamber. I am not in a liberal bubble anymore. We Dorothy, we are no longer in Kansas. We are in Nevada. And here your jokes land completely differently, so figure it out and shut up. At first, I was like, "I hate it here. They don't get me and I don't get them, and I just wanna go home."
Mhm.
And now I, like, dusted it off, and my attitude, like you, is like that
It'll
bar
grow
show.
your comedy though too, because 'cause you'll do those jokes in New York and they'll crush and you'll be like, "Huh." It just, like,
I
opens up
hope
the
so. I
yeah.
hope so. I also enjoy the fact that I am not like, people come to Vegas for 1 night, 2 nights,
Mhm.
but there's very, very, very few people who live here, and so I've really enjoyed being a big fish in the small pond. Like, if someone was like, "Give me your top 5 comedians who actually live in Las Vegas," like, I'm on that list. I
Get
am on that
it?
motherfucking list. When we're in New York, I mean,
There's so much. Yeah, there's so
you're
much.
going to list a lot of people before we get to Esther Steinberg potentially, unless you're a mega fan and I love you and appreciate you. Like there's just so many amazing, brilliant comedians. And I've always been surrounded by big fish. And I really feel like Vegas was this odd move. It was a financial move.
Mhm.
I have 2 kids and like
Yeah.
I really just wanted to be able to survive, but I also wanted to perform every night. Nevada.
That's great.
That
I
should
love
be the
that.
slogan. I'm like, "Are you interested in still pursuing your dreams, but you want to not
But it's a
be."
great tourist town. It's a great market.
It feels
That's
like
a
doing the
great move.
road. It
Yeah,
is the road.
without
The
having to
strip.
leave.
But by the way, when people visit me and they're like, "Come meet me at this place on the strip," and I'm like, "Do you realize you're asking me to go to the M&M store in Times
Mhm.
Square?"
Yeah.
Just so
Yeah.
you realize what you're asking me to do. I will meet you at the Venetian because I'm a great friend, or maybe not, depending how much money you want to pay me. But like, no, I can't believe you're asking me to meet you at the strip because that is Times Square.
No, I've never done this show, so I'm curious. The Dirty at 12:30. Have you ever done it?
I have, and do you have you ever watched Clockwork Orange?
Yeah. It's that.
I no, what I'm saying is I get so tired by 1 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning that I was like, if you guys do you have any like things I could hold my eyes open?
yeah, I would
Because
need a
I'm
nap before I got there.
12:30 a.m. is when they start the
Mhm.
show. And I was like, I'm fine with dirty. The problem I have is 12:30.
Yeah, let's turn this to
And
the
if
afternoon.
can we please do
Dirty at
4 p.m.?
12:30 PM. Like,
Yes.
let's do that.
Dirty at 12:30 p.m. would be so smart. We'd get bachelorette brunches. We would,
Mhm. They should
instead,
take it. Take it. Tell them they should do 2 shows a day.
but the people
Dirty at
at the
12:30.
the crowd is good because they're absolute degenerates and they're
Mhm.
drunk and they're disgusting and nothing you say could ever offend them. And so
That's
you
fun.
have this like kind of invitation to tell any kind of joke. And I love dirty jokes. Not always, but like some of the hardest I've ever laughed is like Lisa Traeger talking about the consistency of calm and how she loves that, and that's why she can't be a lesbian.
Mhm.
And she has to be, and it's like sometimes the disgusting jokes are funny, but sometimes disgusting jokes are just not funny.
Right.
So my theory is like make it dirty, but please can you please prioritize funny? Because just a joke about balls being stinky and sticky isn't gonna make me laugh. I need perspective. I need, you know, I need something a little more than just dirty. So all my dirty jokes, I try to really build it out as a bit, not just
Right.
LOL, I suck dick, which I definitely don't because I'm married.
Thank you.
Um, that ship has totally sailed. If I ever tell a joke about sucking dick, know that it's 11 years old.
That
Um,
it didn't happen last week. It happened 12 years ago.
this is not even my joke. I stole it from another woman.
Not even a
But
woman.
I
You stole it from a gay man. Let's be real.
but like the Dirty at 12:30 show is a blast. It's kind of like a legendary, iconic thing to do the
Mhm.
show. But yeah, staying up that late sucks. And what I did do though, I sell stickers after my show because that's a new thing that I never did in New York or LA, but I do it in Nevada.
Merch, yeah.
Selling shit. Every show I could make a little bit of money selling stickers or t-shirts. I would never dare in LA or New York
Mhm.
bring merch. I wouldn't even think about it. I'm just like, merch, you're not cool, you're lame. Like, I don't know what I thought in New York or LA, but, like, never
There's no place
I
to set it up
yeah,
unless it's like
in
a club
Vegas,
outside of the city, like, if you're doing,
they
like, an
literally are
improv at
like
the Irvine or something or Ontario in LA, that makes
right.
sense, but in, like,
Every
the
show in
Hollywood Improv,
Vegas
no.
every show in Vegas, they're like, "And here's the table if do you have merch? You can set up the table for merch." Dirty at 12:30, a show for degenerates,
They're gonna buy the
like,
most.
there's a merch table, and they're selling T-shirts that just say "Dirty at 12:30," and then
Mhm.
you're allowed as a comedian. So I put my dumb stickers out, and I say it's donation, depending on how drunk they are. I'll say it's $5 or donation, and, like, I think I went home with $100 in cash because people were just like, here's money
They
for
wanna
your
support.
stickers." And I'm
Yeah,
like, Dirty at 12:30 is just like, let me whatever, it's so silly, and I definitely recommend it, but I can't stay up that late every
that's
Friday.
hard. Yeah, I agree, that's very
And
hard.
by the
So
way, it's
where can
technically
people?
Saturday.
Mhm,
When
mhm.
it when it's confusing what day your show is based on 12 AM, it's like 12:30 AM on Friday. Actually, Saturday.
Right.
That's Saturday. That's
Yeah,
not even Friday anymore.
that's true. So where can people follow you, find you, stalk you in the nice, kindest of ways?
I would love for everyone to watch my special. You can get it on Amazon, and I think it'll be available on like YouTube and things that with commercials, but it'll definitely Amazon. So I'm like, for everyone who doesn't want to get out of their pajama pants, I
Mhm.
have created this special for them specifically. And really, me, I like to be in pajama pants. And then so that's the special for you. And then I'm always on Instagram posting the clips, trying to keep up with the kids. And that's Esther.Steinberg. And then I'm on TikTok and I'm so messy. I don't know what I'm doing on TikTok.
Mhm.
So if you want a very unhinged version of me, my TikTok's like Esther Steinberg something comedy and Twitter. I don't know. I kind of like my YouTube channel I'm trying to build. That's
Okay.
difficult.
Follow her
That
on
is
everything then.
I love posting things to the internet and I love the internet, but I'm really like I don't want to waste time making silly dumb internet videos. I'm like
Mhm.
I have wasted my time making a comedy special. I'll put captions and put it online. But I'm really in the mood of being like, I want things to be more elevated. Here's the comedy that I've honed, crafted, filmed, captioned, and now you can enjoy it in your pajama pants. You're welcome. I hope people realize what comedians have done to make comedy so insanely easable to consume. You used to have to put on pants, buy 2 drinks, watch a bad opener, a weird guest spot to get to Ellen DeGeneres, your favorite comedian. You know, back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Now it's like we've cut it up, captioned it. It's 35 seconds. It's kind of annoying, but it's so easy. So
yeah.
easy to find comedy.
And like them, comment on them. It's only gonna help your if you have a favorite comedian, please
Did
comment
you
on
have a
their
good
pages. It's gonna help them.
and you had a good release with your special? Were you like thrilled about it, happy about it?
Yeah, yeah, it was all great.
It's
Yeah,
good.
I'm
Some
gonna do
people do
another
a
one this
special
year.
and they oh,
Yeah,
ooh, where are you
I've done
filming?
3. I've done 3. I'm about
Hell
to
yeah.
hopefully do the 4th soon. I'm not doing it
I'm
yet.
at 2. I'm at 2 and now
There
I
you
need
go.
to like a fourth is a big that kind of feels like kids where they're like 4 kids. What are you
Yeah,
insane? 4
I just like doing
specials?
them. I like throwing away the writing, so that's why.
Absolutely. That is a working comedian. And that's a Canadian right there. It's a working Canadian.
Rosie the Riveter. Not really.
Yes. And now I need to go watch your 3 so I could be ready for your
Well,
4.
no, I'll tell you what watch the 3rd.
Do
I
you
have
feel like
favorites
people
and
need
I
to
have
watch the prereqs? Like it's like a
no, no, no,
sequel
no,
to a
no. I just
movie?
like the first one and the third one. The second one's not much. The second one I did during COVID, so it's like really ain't great.
That's like
It's
kids because everyone's like the second kid sucks.
yeah,
My
yeah, yeah.
baby is the first.
The second one is good. It's okay. It's okay. I'd say watch the first and the third.
That's
Then the 4th.
hilarious.
The 4th will be the best.
Where are you filming? New
I
York,
don't know yet. I
Canada?
haven't figured it all yet.
Vegas?
Maybe. Why not?
Erupt.
Oh, of course. Why not bring the weapons to the show? Let's go. I'm so
Now
in.
I need to get you to Vegas to see how
I
purple
love
comedy
Vegas. I
works.
love performing in Vegas and I love the what is it? The Benihanas, which is a sad thing that I do every time I go to Vegas. I'd go to Benihanas by
Really?
myself. I like going to Benihanas when I'm on the road. It's one of my favorite places to go because
Alone?
you sit with the family and you're just like, I'm a weirdo. I enjoy.
I love hibachi. I was literally Googling hibachi. You just sold it to me. Do you feel like Benihana is still like quality?
Yeah, it's also just fun. You know what you're getting. You know exactly what you're getting. It's just like it's perfect. I love it.
Nice.
Benihana,
Yes.
I love you. Well, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Sponsored by
Every
Benihana.
this episode is sponsored to you by yeah, Benihana. We'll just give it to them. They'll let it happen.
Yeah.
But please check out Schmear campaign and see you guys
Yes.
next week.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes. Smear
you.
campaign.